you know, asking for
It's
some
going
life
live.
lessons.
Hey, Mo.
Hey, Ricky, how you doing?
The doctor is in.
Yes, 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 we are. Happy Wellness Wednesday. It's hump day.
It's hump day. It's our day. It's our day.
It is. And it's
Yes,
a good
geez.
day. It's a good day to be here. Good day to be alive. It's a day to give thanks. We're coming up on Thanksgiving and we have so much to be thankful for. You know, when we talk about caregivers, right? This is a month to really celebrate and not just celebrate, but highlight the challenges and the opportunities for caregivers and create space for them. And so I'm excited to meet these dynamos today and hear their stories so that we can show others, you know, a roadmap for how to do this, because cancer doesn't have a roadmap. I don't care what your stage is, what your age is, what your race is. Nobody teaches you how to deal with this thing, you know. But if there are people who are able to overcome, to turn their tests into testimonies, to make some lemonade out of these lemons, we want to hear about it, know about it, celebrate it, and then make sure we offer some resources. So welcome everybody to The Doctor Is In.
Welcome. And you know, this has got to be the hardest job of a mother, right? I can't even imagine what these beautiful women have gone through. So and you're going to be blown away by their amazing stories. So let's jump right in. You know, I'm going to let you guys and Diane, will you go first, introduce yourself, and then we'll let Josie introduce herself, and then we'll come back and you guys share your stories. Okay. So go, Diane.
Yes, my name is Diane Smith, and thank you for having me this evening. I personally am a breast cancer survivor, and so you will get to hear the story of my daughter, who also was diagnosed with breast cancer 4 years after I was, and I was her caregiver. So thank you. And I will say to the audience, this is my first time publicly speaking about that caregiver role for my daughter. So hopefully have something to share that is beneficial to someone else that may be on a similar journey.
Thank you so much, you guys, both of you, for being here. Your bravery is phenomenal. So thank you for even just having this really tough conversation with us. So welcome, Josie.
Hi, my name is Josie Holman Adams. My daughter had triple negative breast cancer. It's been 10 years, but it feels like it was 10 minutes ago. I tell my story a lot because I talk about Erica like she's still here. And yes, it is the hardest job that I've ever had.
It is.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's a hard job.
It's a hard job. It's a hard job.
Well,
you want to go ahead and tell your story? Do you feel like talking about it?
Well, Erica, I was 17 when I had Erica. So the only job that I knew how to do and do good was to be a mother. Every graduation, wedding, no matter what milestone I had, Erica was a part of it. She was an educator. She had 2 bachelors, 2 masters. The University of Louisville actually presented me and my husband with her PhD. So she is Dr. Erica Holman. She didn't have any biological kids, but she had so many kids from the universities that she had worked at. She felt a lump on her chest wall. She was making jewelry. She was hustling while she was in working on her PhD. And it was about the size of a dime. And she went and had it checked out. And that's how she found out.
How old was
35. She was 35. I'm sorry, she was 31 when she was diagnosed. She died at 35. She lived 4 years and 6 months. And remember, this was 10 years ago. When you looked up triple negative breast cancer, you might have got 2 sentences. Okay, maybe a paragraph.
There was nothing on Google. Yeah.
Yeah, her motto was, I choose to live. She cried. I think I only seen her cry maybe once or twice. And after that point, you know, she chose to live, and she did everything she could. She had double mastectomy and reconstruction. She had the nipple reconstruction. she, the first time she did good, you know, she went through the chemo, she did real good. The second time she said, my body feels different. The third time they called me, and what I would do is I would go, the first time I went down every so many days when she had her chemo, and I would stay. She was in Louisville, Kentucky, and then I would come back home. The second time she got diagnosed, she was working at Wake Forest in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I actually moved down there for about 6 months. She didn't feel like she was the same. And when I came home, they told me she was cancer-free. They called me on a Wednesday. I went down. By the next Wednesday, she had died. That's how aggressive triple negative breast cancer was back then. So that was my only biological child. So what I had to realize was her story was my story. So, and it's hard being without her every day. So that's, you know,
Bless you. Bless
my
you.
story.
Thank you for sharing. If you're just tuning in, we are talking today. This is a show about cancer in particular. The Doctor is In is a show on Black Doctor where we talk about the issues affecting cancer patients, survivors, advocates, and today we're focused on caregivers. And so we want to devote complete attention. You know, we want comments from people. We want you to invite your caregivers to tune in, to watch. Advocates, this is a show for everybody, so that we can talk about these issues, because, you know, I can tell you as the surgeon, there are some things that we talk about with patients and that we can relate to, and there are other things that when a patient gets home behind their closed doors after the chemo, even if they tolerate their chemo well, right? Like, what does that really mean? Does that mean they aren't nauseous? Does that mean they aren't scared? Does that mean they're sleeping at night? And it doesn't. And there's so many things that the family members have to deal with. And there's not a lot of great books and primers on these sorts of things.
Oh, no.
And they're not things that the doctors spend a lot of time talking about, because we spend time talking about the cancer and the plan. They talk to the patient, but who talks to the caregivers?
Right.
So
right.
we got to talk about it some more. Diane, we want you to share your story, and then we're going to just take questions and really get into some of the issues.
Yeah. And not even just a caregiver, but the mama.
Yeah, the mom.
Yeah. It was the mom. Josie, that was amazing story. And as you was telling that, there's similarities. Dee was an only child, and I still talk to her about her all the time to people. It's been 4 years. She passed in 2017, and she was diagnosed at 35. And as I said earlier, it was 4 years after I had my battle with breast cancer. So I thought I knew what it might look like. At least I knew some of what that journey might be. And it really was a blessing in that I was able to help her in a way that I never could have had I not already walked that journey. She was diagnosed with lobular invasive carcinoma, and it was stage 4. When she found this spot on her breast, she didn't think it was breast cancer because she was looking for a lump, and there was no lump.
Right.
She had actually been on a camping trip and had injured herself and had gone to the doctor and to check out her injury. And while she was there, just mentioned that she had this spot on her breast that kind of looked strange. And because of my history of breast cancer, that's what caused them to check for breast cancer. And she went through, had a double mastectomy, and me being the mom, and I really wanted her to do something fast. And she was going through this stage of, I'm not married, I don't have any children, I want to harvest my eggs. And I'm just like, we're not worried about any eggs. So she had to work through all of that before she actually had a double mastectomy. And then she had a hysterectomy and went through chemo, tolerated that well, went through I don't know, radiation for about 6-8 weeks. And after the radiation was finished, just before Christmas, she started having some symptoms of peripheral vision issues and stumbling, and come to find out it had metastasized to the brain.
Mhm.
And so at that point, they actually told her that she had somewhere between 2 weeks and 4 months to live. And like your
Wow.
daughter, she decided she was going to live. And so she did. And she actually lived 4 years longer than they had anticipated. She actually lived to see her 40th birthday. And so I can identify with that, the strength that our daughters had, the choices that they made.
Right.
And she lived her life, and she taught others how to live also. And as a mother, and going through that journey myself, one of the things that I had to learn as a caregiver was that I had to respect her wishes and her choices and her decisions. And
Yeah.
when she needed me to step up and take charge, I could. And then when she needed me to step back, I had to step back.
Right.
And so I learned to do that very well. At first, it was anxiety with that, right? Because as a mom, you want to fix it.
Right. Right.
And then, but they have a
Diane,
really
tell
good,
us what you mean. Give us some more examples, because I think
no,
people are trying to figure out how to talk to their family about their cancer,
Yeah,
how to tell
yeah.
them what they need. And, people, there's a lot of secrecy in our communities because we don't know how to have these conversations. And there's something in what you said that you learned from your daughter communicating with you, or maybe not communicating certain things with you. Tell us a little bit more.
Dee and I had always been extremely close. I mean, we could look at each other and know what the other was thinking.
Mhm.
We were just had a bond, right?
Right.
But what I mean by that, so she was very transparent with me. But when we would go to doctor's appointments together, she always wanted to make sure everyone knew who she was, her name. But if she wasn't getting what she wanted or what she thought she needed, I would intervene and I would take charge, right?
Right.
And so I don't say good cop, bad cop. I want to say sometimes I needed to be the bad guy so she could always be the good guy in any situation, because
Right.
she would say, Mom, these people have to take care of me. They need to like me, right? Because then I'll get what I want. And I would say,
Right.
okay, don't worry about that.
Don't beat them up too bad, right?
push. I will do
Right.
the pushing, and you can be the nice person all the time, right?
Right.
But we're gonna
I
get you
love
what you
this
need.
so much.
So much.
I mean, honestly, even if it wasn't your personality, you're like, listen, I'll be the bad guy. It's okay. I
Right.
love that.
And the other
Right.
thing with that is when you go with them
Mhm.
and you're sitting in the room, people are looking at you. They call a name. They say Erica Holman. They're looking at me like it's going to be me, but it's not me.
Mhm.
It was her. So,
Right.
and the tables were turned because they're thinking, oh, she's young. She doesn't have cancer,
Mhm.
but it was her. And it wasn't
Wow.
me. So that's when you don't look at the room. You look at her and you say, let's just get up, let's go. And you kind of
Mhm.
smile. We laughed about it because we knew that people were looking at us like, oh, it's the mother and not the daughter. But it wasn't. It was the other way. And not only was I her caregiver, just like you, then I became caregiver of her embryos because she actually harvested her eggs. And so I then became the owner of her embryos. So now what do I do? So,
Mhm.
Me and my husband decided we were going to do it one time,
Boy,
and we did it. I even had a volunteer, but it didn't work. So we went
To
through
do
that whole
artificial
process.
insemination, to do
Oh.
artificial insemination, you tried that?
Yes, we went through the whole, we had the eggs were on ice. They were, harvested, and we made that decision my husband is like, we're not going to do it several times. We're going to use them all at one time and see if it works. And it didn't. But, We tried. I wanted to be able to look into somebody's eyes that looked like my daughter. And that was probably one of the reasons. And one of the reasons, the last thing she wanted to do was be a mother. So
Bless you.
I couldn't fix it, but I was still going to try to make that happen. And I tried. So, you know, you can take care of people, but being a caregiver is a whole different ballgame, and it's really hard, especially when it's your only child. When it's your child, it makes a big difference.
Bless you. Bless you.
And I think our daughters look at us, at least mine did, as I could fix anything. I could open doors that couldn't get opened.
Right.
And I didn't take no for an answer.
Right.
And there were times when they'd be talking around her, over her, wasn't listening. And I would just say, you know, I need everybody to be quiet. And I need you to listen to D. I understand, because I work in healthcare. We have our protocols, we have our caregiver templates, whatever we have. And I would say I was not there as a healthcare professional. I was there as a mother.
Right.
And there was not anything that I would not do for her, and to make sure she was heard and she got what she needed when she needed it. And I found that to be very, very interesting, because I wouldn't tell people I worked in healthcare. I would just go in as Dee's mom. And I would push back and say, you know, I understand that you have a certain way of doing things, but everybody doesn't fit that model, and you need to listen to the patient. For instance, pain management was a huge deal, huge deal.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine. I can't even imagine watching the pain, right?
It's a huge deal, right? And so you would go into the emergency room, and first of all, they would think you were there because you were drug seeking, which I just couldn't wrap my head around. And then the other thing was that when they first started managing her pain, her oncologist was just, you know, giving her pain medicine, but that's not what she wanted. She continued to work, and she wanted to be able to function and drive and do the things that she loved. She didn't want to be laying in a bed because of pain medication. So I was smart enough to get her a palliative care doctor that was part of her care team that had tricks in the bag that allowed her to live the life that she wanted to live, and not just be in bed taking painkillers like someone that's drug seeking.
Yeah, or be the victim of the disease, right?
Or being the victim of the disease. Right.
Yeah, I resent that. And it's this, it's a story that is more common than we like to acknowledge, because what we find are that Black patients on average, when we look at, I think they looked at this in Boston, Dana-Farber and all the cancer centers in that area, the Black patients who went to the emergency department with stage 4 disease, who were there for pain and for palliation, were assumed to be drug seeking. They were given fewer narcotics. They were turned away. They were, you know, and there's a thin line between offering only narcotics, right, as the only modality versus, you know, undertreating our pain. And I think it takes the nuances of a palliative care specialist. And we know that we are underrepresented and under-resourced to palliative care docs too. You know, did you find a lot of bias in your experience, and both of you, in your daughter's experiences from the healthcare system?
Well, I don't know if I would say I found a lot of biases, because my daughter was like Diana in many ways. I was the person, if she couldn't get it done, I was going to try to get it done. But she was one of those type of people, she was going to make you listen to her. So, and she did a lot of homework. She did a lot of research. So she knew a lot of the questions to ask before she went. And that's something that I think, even with our foundation, we try to encourage women. You got to ask questions. It's okay to ask those questions. So she, as far as the treatment she was receiving, she was a go-getter as far as I'm going to get what I need as far as being treated. I just don't think there was a lot. People didn't know about triple negative. Wasn't a lot of information out there. There may have been some research, but it wasn't widespread. I don't think they just didn't know. You know, they didn't know. They didn't know what to ask.
They didn't know. I mean, I had triple negative in 2011, like about the same time. And, when you went to Dr. Google, there were 3 things on Google. Basically, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die tomorrow.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And there was no information. And I eventually found the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation, which is one of our partners that we work with. And now they are the go-to place for TNBC, and they have a lot of information and resources. And now we have, at least 2 drugs that are targeted. But back then there was so little information, and young women are still get it in crazy numbers that we don't really know why, but there's still a lot of work to do, because even I had a call last week from somebody whose doctor had never had triple negative before. What do I do, Ricky? So
How is that even possible?
how is that possible?
I don't even understand that. That tells me something about what that doctor understands and about the volume of patients, right? They must not be a high volume center. They might not be a dedicated specialist in that. Maybe they're a general surgeon or something like that. But in this day and age, it is impossible to find doctors who don't actually take care of patients with triple negative
But
breast
we're
cancer.
finding the same thing here. And,
Wow.
and we have anytime that you have somebody that works in an oncology department and they've never heard of triple negative breast cancer, that's a problem.
Unexcusable. Somebody in the chat here said Erica was an educator, so she actually diagnosed herself with TNBC.
Right.
I'm telling you, the girl, she knew. But there wasn't in there. Where did she go? Where did she look? Who did she talk to? That's the problem. And, we started a foundation. It's about the awareness of triple negative breast cancer. And we try to hook up with people like yourself so that we can get the information out there. We're all about awareness. That's all we're trying to do, is tell you who's there, where to go, how to get it. Though, if you call me, I had a call last night. If you call me, I'm going to try to call somebody else. I'm going to call Ricky, or I'm going to call this person and hook them up. I can't tell you what it's like to have breast cancer. I can only tell you from the caregiver standpoint, but I can find somebody who can tell you what it's like. And I think I got that from my daughter.
Right.
Diane, you can relate to this, having gone through breast cancer yourself. Did they offer your daughter genetic testing, and did you have genetic testing as well?
I was sharing that with Ricky. When I was diagnosed, I had just turned 50, like 3-4 months earlier. And when I asked about genetic testing, they said that it would not be covered by insurance. This was in 2008, because I was over 50, just by a few months, right?
Crazy.
So I didn't, and I said, well, I'll pay for it myself. And then they told me how much it cost. I was like, well, I can't, it was so expensive. But then 4 years later, when G was diagnosed, she did get genetic testing. We did not have the BRCA gene. And we actually had different types of breast cancer. The interesting thing about D is that with the lobular invasive carcinoma being stage 4, she actually had it in both breasts, which was odd, I would say. I don't think that was common. So, as far as the healthcare system, I live in North Texas. And I work for a very large health system. I'm on the administrative side, so I knew a lot of people. And what Dee used to tell me, Mom, you get different care than everybody else. I'm going, well, what do you mean? Because see, I guess I'm just not the norm, because I knew people who to call. I knew who to go to. And so I made sure she got what she needed. And she was a very strong individual. She knew how to advocate for herself. But then, when you're ill and you're not feeling good, some things you just want to take off their plate. And there were a number of times when we were battling with insurance companies and things like that. And I can remember one situation where I actually tracked down the president of the insurance company. tracked him down through LinkedIn
You,
and called his office
You
because
go,
my
girl.
daughter needed her medication and they were
Right.
denying it.
You girl.
I was like, I'll find you. I will
Yeah.
find you.
Right. It's like that scene in Terms of Endearment, like give my daughter the shot. Like I can only
Right,
feel
right.
the desperation that you feel as a mother to be
Mhm.
out of control, right? Because you
Mhm.
want to fix it. You want to like find the solution. You want to get the help for your child. Like I can't even imagine that frustration, right? That when you're out of control and you can't get the resources that your child needs, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Well, it's like she said, you're as a mother, you're used to fixing things, and you just can't fix this. This
Right.
is no matter what you do, you can't fix it.
You can't.
Erica also had the genetic testing, and the gene was not there, so a mutant gene.
Mhm.
She's the only one on
Right.
our, me, my mother, my sisters, none of us have had breast cancer. She was the
Right.
only one. So, and
It's
it didn't
something,
matter because
right.
she didn't drink, she didn't smoke, she didn't do drugs, she did none of those things. And it still happened to her.
Wow. Let's talk about that helplessness, because I think that is one of the biggest fears of the patient, that they put their family member in that predicament, but also people who are in this situation right now feeling all the feels, right? They feel simultaneously helpless, they feel empowered, they feel on fire, they feel exhausted, they feel resentful, they feel all these things. How do you find yourself in that? And then how do you pull yourself out of that if you do?
Well, I will tell you,
You guys are so brave, so brave. Oh my
It's
goodness.
it
when we
is, it's
first
incredible.
got the word that she had 2 weeks to 4 months to live, I came home, I got in bed, I covered my head, and I cried, and I cried. And my poor husband just didn't know what to do. And the bottom line is there was nothing no one could do. Nothing. And when people would ask, what can I do? There's nothing you can do. Because what my desire was, nobody could fix that, not even myself. That lasted however long it lasted. And then I got up and I said, we're fighting. I'm fighting with her. Whatever it takes, we will do. And I also told her, you live your life, live. If there's anything you want to do, you do it. And when she was diagnosed with the brain, the metastasis to the brain, she had already had a trip planned with her college roommate out of the country to celebrate the end of her radiation and chemo. And they were already, the trip was planned, tickets, bought, everything. And so she had brain surgery. They actually put in so they could, it was in the spinal fluid is where they found it, which was 1 million and a chance of finding the 12 cancer cells in spinal fluid that's continuously going through your brain and your spine. And so that explained what was going on with the other stuff, with balance issues and things like that. And so she caught a plane a week later after brain surgery. I spent that weekend, or that week and the weekend before, making sure everything that she needed for that trip was there, and we worked with her oncologist, getting her records, everything that she needed, and to take with her because she was going on that trip. And people were like, I can't believe you're letting her go. Why not? They just told my kid she got 2 weeks to live. Why wouldn't she go?
Right.
And then I came home and told my husband, I said, if something happens to her, I'm on the next plane to Mexico. I don't care what it costs.
Right.
Mhm.
And he goes, okay, we're going if we need to. But she went, and it was one of the best things that she did early on.
Beautiful.
And then 4 months later, when that deadline came, that she had 4 months to live, I went to see her because she would not move in with us, but she was like 5 minutes. We got an apartment close to us, 5 minutes from us. And I went over and we went to the store and she bought paint, came back to her apartment and she painted on the wall, "I will live and not die."
Mhm.
And she did. She lived for 4 years after that. And that in itself is really amazing. And the doctors just could not understand how she did it. Because as it continued to progress, and then at one point we did change oncologist because, you get the feeling that your oncologists think they've done as much for you as they can do. And what's the problem? You've lived longer than you were supposed to, right? So we changed oncologist. I did go to get second opinions, went to 2 major health systems, one here in the Dallas-Fort Worth market that does a lot of research, and the other one in Houston. And because I want to make sure that we've uncovered every possible treatment. As long as she was willing to fight, I was there to fight. And so, that's how that turned out. She traveled. Everything that she thought she might want to do, she did. And I would say, as a caregiver, you're there to support, open doors, listen. And one of the things that she and I would talk about is that the ugly truth of the cancer fight, people really can't handle it. And so, but I knew the truth. And you just deal with it because you have to. You just deal with it. And I will tell you, one of my biggest fears was that I wouldn't be there with her at the end, but I was. And as a mother, probably the most difficult thing that I have ever done in my life, when it was close to the end and she was still fighting, I had to just lean in and say, you can let go.
Okay.
You don't have to do this anymore. I literally could not take seeing her continue to be in the pain that she was in, trying to hang on for me.
Mm-hmm.
And because she was worried that I wouldn't be okay, but I knew it would. I didn't know what it would look like, but I had enough faith, and I still do, that I would get through it, but I didn't have to know what it would look like. And that's hard for someone like me that always wants to fix things.
God bless you.
And and after I leaned in and whispered in her ear that it was okay, it wasn't 10 minutes before she was gone. And actually, I saw that as a blessing because I was there when she was born, and I was there when she left this earth. And to me, I didn't ever have to worry about what she was feeling or what happened at the end. And so that has been a comfort to me, because that was one of my prayers to God, that I would be there for her at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, and that was the same thing with me. I felt like the same way. I was there when she was born and when she took that first breath, and I was there when she took that last breath. And I leaned into what I said. It's okay. It's okay. But we had that conversation, which I recommend to a lot of people. We had that conversation before she died, where it was like, if I die, this happens. And if you die, had we not had that conversation, I may not be here right now. I don't think I've ever really grieved, because it's always been something. It's been the foundation. It's been this, it's been that. And I chose to just be still. When she died, I was just still. And I think I've still just been still. Because sometimes in the morning, I don't want to get up. I don't want to do a lot of these things. So it has to be Jesus. It has to be, it's something, a being that's not me, because I'm just being still. And I've been still for a long time. Of course, music was one of the things. You know, Kim has a song out that's like, I'm not the man that I used to be. I'm not the woman that I used to be. I will never be her again, because I was that woman with my daughter, because we grew up together. So you see me and you see one thing, but this is different. My heart misses her every minute.
You guys are like so brave, so brave. So thank you for sharing this with our audience. You know, one of my best friends just died from TNBC in April, and I remember, you know, her last days, or I remember she called me about a week before she died and said, she lived far away, and she said, I'm dying. And I said, no, you're not, Allison, you're not dying. We're going to fight. We're going to get a clinical trial. We're going to do whatever, you know, and she hung up on me. And then she called me back 5 minutes later and said, Ricky, you have to accept it. We have to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so hard for me to stop the fight, because you're like, fight, 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 fight,
Right.
fight like a girl, fight. I was like, I had my fight shirts on, my fight songs. And so I didn't want to give up the fight, but I had to recognize that she was done with this crap, that the pain. And she said, we used to joke about, you know, how is your pain today? 1 to 10, like that's such a stupid thing to think about for pain, right? And she's like, my pain has no number. And it's like she had to succumb to the pain, like she just couldn't take it anymore. But for me to accept that, and she was a friend, okay, like my best friend, she was not my child, but to let her say, okay, I'm not going to fight anymore, was just so hard, so hard. So hard to say, like, okay, it's okay. And that's so brave of you to do that, Diane, that it's okay, because you just can't watch it anymore.
Right.
Yeah, and our loved ones do need that permission, you know, and I think as Black women, we need permission more often to surrender to things, to relinquish control, to relinquish responsibilities, to prioritize ourselves, to do all these things. And it takes someone we love sometimes to come up to us and tap us on the shoulder, say, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay to, you know, like rest it's not a reward. Rest is something that we deserve. It's something your body needs. It's okay to rest. It's okay to be tired. It's okay to say no. No is a complete sentence, right? Complete sentence, but we don't give ourselves permission. And so even during the battle of our lives, we really don't give ourselves permission to do that. And so this is a brave conversation to have. And I'm looking in the chat and people are saying similar things, you know, they're sharing their stories. And when you get a chance to go back and watch this and share it, you're going to read these incredible stories of people who said, you know what, I'm grateful I had the opportunity to be there for my loved one. I haven't had one person, I haven't seen any caregiver ever say, I wish they hadn't told me. And I think that that's something really important for people watching to know, because when you get that diagnosis, you know, and you don't want to lean on your loved ones and you don't want to burden your family, you rob them of the opportunity to be there for you.
Right.
And I guess I would love for you guys to weigh in on that. I mean, I can't imagine this story going any other way where your daughters would not have told you what's going on.
Right.
Yeah, I can't imagine that either, because we were so close. I will say along the journey, about 6 months before Dee passed, we did an out of hospital DNR, do not resuscitate, with her oncologist. That was a hard day.
That was a hard day.
It was a hard day, but it was a necessary day. And then I found along the way, there were certain things she just could not do with me. It was too painful because there was too much love there. However, I was able to recognize that, and I would pull in whatever resource I needed to help her through that piece of it. I didn't have to be there for every little thing, I was there for the DNR, out of hospital DNR, but she needed to get her will together and all of that. She could not do that with me. So one of my sisters did. So there was, and then there was a time when she needed a PCA pump. And I had started trying to have a conversation with her about hospice care. She couldn't do that with me. So I had a nurse friend. I said, I need you to get my daughter ready for hospice. And so she didn't need to know that I was doing those things behind the scenes. Like I said, whatever my child needed, I was going to make sure she got it. And I didn't have to be the center of anything because it was all about her. And
but did you find it amazing that when we went to probate court, and it was a white woman judge, and she looked at me and my husband, and she was like, this woman had a will and she had her stuff together? And it was like, it was a foreign entity, like this doesn't happen. And I'm like, well, yeah, she had her stuff together. Because again, as a mother, I made sure she had it together. But it was almost like, one, she was young and Black women just don't do this. And I didn't know if you found that kind of the same thing happened to you, because it happened to us.
Yeah, it was different for sure, right? But I tell you, it's a gift to your loved ones that you do those things, right? Because then I knew exactly
That's right.
what to do. And if I know what to do, I can execute. I don't have to guess, and I can make sure it happens.
You had a plan. You had a plan. Or
Right.
she had a plan for you.
Mhm.
And that, well, I think if she didn't have the plan, how much worse it would have been, right?
Oh,
The deal.
even down to her memorial service. We had a celebration of life, and she decided she was going to be cremated, and she did not want a viewing or anything like that. And she loved outdoors. So we had it at the Botanical Gardens here in the city. And as we were talking about that, thought, oh yeah, that'll be great. And then she threw in, she wanted it at sunset. And then she threw in, oh, we want a video. And I'm thinking, okay, Dee, how am I going to do a video outdoors? People won't be able to see it. And you know what her response to me was? Mom, you'll figure it out. And she was right. I figured it out.
Figured it out. Wow.
Figured it out.
Homework. She gave you homework.
Always.
And
you know,
did.
one of the things that we dealt with, we dealt with laughter. We made a joke out of a lot of stuff. And that's one of the ways that, you know, me, her, and her father got through it. We just laughed about it. I mean, what could we do other than laugh and keep on moving?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think people need to, even though life is serious, you got to find some joy somewhere.
Every day.
I'm gonna put that in the chart. I'm gonna put that in the chat here, in the chart. Listen to me. I'm gonna put that in the chat. Let's switch gears and talk about advocacy. Let's talk about foundations and movement and inspiration and not only the lessons, but let's talk about the beauty and the legacy that's growing from all of this.
We started, well, Dee and I started, it's not a foundation, but it's actually, we raise money for the American Cancer Society. And we have a team called Hope is Dope. And she and a friend, because she was a graphic designer and a marketing manager for an association. And they actually created a logo called Hope is Dope. And we've used that team name to raise funds for research for the American Cancer Society. She and I actually were ambassadors for the American Cancer Society here locally back in 2015. And so that's kind of where we direct our, fundraising to. The beauty about Hope is Dope is that behind the scenes, I personally have helped guide and many women through the journey, in that your journey is going to be different from someone else's. Mm-hmm. But you should not do this alone. Mm-hmm. You need a support system. You need a tribe behind you. because we can listen in a way that no one else can. And not only that, sometimes you just need to do a gut check. Is this normal? And, you know, there's someone that's willing to listen to you and give you a different perspective. Sometimes when you're going through cancer treatment yourself, you know, one of the things is you need to drink a lot of water, liquids, you need to eat. And sometimes family members and caregivers that haven't been on that journey themselves really don't understand that 2 bites may be enough, because everything takes energy and you just may not have it. To be able to do, they think you need to eat a whole plate of food. And sometimes I've had to tell family members, back off. If they're eating 2 or 3 bites, that's enough for today, right? Let them do what they can do as long as they're continuing to try. And so just, you know, being a support system to others has been one of my passions all along. It's not something that I chose, but I believe we all have purpose, and whatever that purpose is, you just lean into it and know that God would direct your path, and your path will cross with women that need you, even for a short period of time.
Wow.
And I'd love to hear what Josie has to say. I know, because I think she started a whole foundation, even though I've thought about that. I go, oh my gosh, how much work is that?
A lot. It's a lot of work. If you can see my desk, it's a lot of work. Much like you, it's not something I chose to do. It's something that I guess was chosen for me, and I've leaned into it. We started the Erica J. Holman Foundation for the awareness of triple negative breast cancer. Now, under that umbrella falls a lot of things. The one thing that Erica had did after she had a double mastectomy reconstruction, she donated 70 bras to the local Y here. So now under the foundation, we donated over 6,000 brand new bras to back to work programs, battered women shelters, disaster relief programs, just different places. And this year alone, I think we have about 700 bras. We will donate them on Giving Tuesday to various organizations. So just from those 70 bras that she originally donated herself, now we've donated over 6,000 brand new bras. So one of the things that we had this year we were going to donate silicone nipples to a woman, but she's been having a lot of issues. So right now we're still on track to do that. And that this will be the first year that we've done that kind of thing. We had a mammogram jam where we have this year was the first year we had 2 hospitals and the mammogram van simultaneously giving mammograms to women who signed up for that. So we do a lot of things. We'll go anywhere. We'll go to a bar, we'll go to a church, we'll go to a restaurant, we'll go wherever you want us to come, and we make people aware of triple negative breast cancer. That's our job. We have a board member in Los Angeles, we have one in North Carolina, we have one in Cleveland, and the rest of them are here in Cincinnati, Ohio. So we're trying to get the word out to let women know it's okay to ask questions. If you don't feel comfortable with that doctor, go get another one. And for some reason, we're finding people are calling me. Like you said, I can't give you advice on how to, what it feels like to live with breast cancer, but I could connect you with someone. So we're finding ourselves where we're starting to be, we got to get some kind of support system. And the other thing that we have in Ohio, the first license plate for triple negative breast cancer with the Black woman's name on it. It has our logo for our foundation. Here in Ohio.
That's phenomenal. I put your foundation in the comments. I put your foundation link in the comments.
Thank you. So we're trying, we're trying. And for me, like I said earlier, I realized that Erica's story was my story. So it was a few things, like she wanted to write a book. I finished the book because I actually became her study partner for her PhD because I wanted her to finish. So I would get the books here in Cincinnati. She would have the books wherever she was, and we studied together. So I finished her book. She had there was she wanted to say thank you to me and her father, and she couldn't figure out what to do. So she designed a line of jewelry for caregivers. Me and my husband now have a line of jewelry. It's called Caregiver Thank You. We're actually still designing some pieces. We did a calendar for caregivers and survivors. So we tried to do, I tried to do some of the things that I knew that she wanted to do in her life. And I tried to finish those. And we had a 5-year plan. We were going to Hawaii. She died before we could go. So few of us went to Hawaii. I took her shoes and I walked in her shoes in Hawaii.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, God
Oh.
bless you.
So those are some of the things that I didn't plan to do. Many days I don't want to do, but like you know, I was her mom, so I did them. So that's what we're doing. So.
You guys are just incredible, incredible. I can't even imagine. I think one of my biggest fears even getting breast cancer was my daughter's getting it, you know?
Right.
And that's still, that's still my biggest fear, my only fear, right?
Because this is not the norm. You think you're going to go before your child goes. And it was never in the plan. You had all these plans. I'm going to leave you this, and
Oh gosh, yes.
And it doesn't happen that way. All the
Yeah,
time.
that's a tough part. It really is. Because that's for my husband and I, we were like, okay, Dee was supposed to get all this stuff, our
Right.
financial stuff, right?
Right.
And after she passed, we just had to really rethink everything. And that was hard. It was really
Right.
hard. Yes.
Right. I had packed up all her toys. Yeah, I had packed up all her stuff and gave it to her. And of course, I got all that back. So now what do I do with it again?
Wow.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah. I don't know.
So let me ask you this, and it's okay if you don't have an answer for it yet, but what's bringing you joy these days? Where are you sourcing your joy? If you have any.
I do.
Maybe some days. Mm-hmm.
I do. I have joy every day, serving others, being there, and just knowing that the things that I'm doing makes a difference. It really helps you focus and stay focused on what's absolutely the most important. I don't do negativity.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, that was one of my things. No negativity. Okay.
I don't have room for it.
I don't have absolutely. I don't have no capacity for that at all.
Right.
So in every situation, there is some good. Sometimes you just got to look for it, but you need to stop and find it. Absolutely. And just be thankful for every day that you're given.
Mm-hmm.
And Diane, I don't know you, I haven't known you for a long time, but every time I interact with you, you are a light. And you do look at the world from a positive perspective. So, and you can see that you're doing the same thing, Josie.
We're trying.
Any advice for caregivers who are
moms?
watching?
Yeah.
We got moms who are watching, and we got folks who, let's start with that question, because the second question is for the people who are battling and having trouble talking to their families. But let's start with the caregivers first.
Right.
Any advice, any pearls, any wisdom for them?
Laugh often.
Yes.
There's humor in lots of things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you may get tired, just know it's just for a moment. You always have tomorrow to do better. Always.
Right.
And you will never, ever regret being a caregiver for someone you love. And so just live a life of no regrets. Say the things that you need to say and just be kind, and know that sometimes when that person may snap at you. That's not them. It's the pain. It's the illness that they're dealing with. And they'll come around. Just continue to love on them. Just love on them every single day.
And they do. They snap at you because you're the closest thing to them. But and everything she said, you know, it's almost hard to say I can tell you what to a caregiver to do, because each experience is a little bit different, even though it's the same. But all you can do is be there to love them, and, you know, and laugh. Like she said, laugh. It's a hard job, but I'm honored to have been the one to be able there to do it for her.
For the folks who are having trouble telling their loved ones about their cancer journey, and they want to keep it a secret, or they're having difficulty having difficult conversations, what advice would you give to them?
You know, that's a tough one. Go ahead, Josie.
Yeah, it's hard because
Yeah.
people, I come from a place of, you know, I really don't tell people a lot, but sometimes you have to, not only for yourself, for the other person, just tell them, just talk to them. There's nothing wrong with it. You allow people to help you. And I have that problem myself, but you sometimes just have to allow people to help you. And it's okay. It's okay. It won't be as bad as you think it'll be. And then you might laugh. Y'all might laugh together. And don't sacrifice those conversations, those emotions that you can have with somebody that you can never give back once you're gone. You can never give to them when you're gone.
And I say that, Dr. Mo, I say that's a tough one, because I've actually run across a couple of women who just would not tell their family or loved ones. And what I've said to them is, you should, because one of the things is you rob them. Because sometimes those relationships are probably broken, or there's not enough trust there.
Right. Yep.
But you rob them of resolving any type of conflict you may have had in the past. One thing about this journey, you will find out who really loves you and who doesn't. And sometimes it's not family, unfortunately.
Right.
So if you have a couple of people, and they don't have to necessarily be blood family, that you can share your journey with, do, because it's got to be a heavy burden to carry this all alone by yourself.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that, find yourself a support group of women who look like you, think like you, women that are positive. Choose not to do drama, and don't get hung up on expecting people to treat you a certain way, because they may not, and it's okay. Just don't spend your energy on that. Because at the end of the day, you personally want to live a life of no regrets. And so I've encouraged them to do that. And I know one, she finally did tell a friend. And she was out of the state of Texas. And so it was not anybody I could interact with all the time, but she felt comfortable talking to me because she had heard me talk about my journey. And so I just didn't want her to be alone, because it's too much. It really is. And so tell your family, however they take it, that's how they take it. And you can move on and resolve anything in your mind and in your spirit that would cause you to have negativity. And then just don't worry about it.
Right.
Wow. Do you guys mind if people reach out to you? We put your foundation info in the comments. Josie, but do you want people to reach out to you, or maybe they can just contact us and we can kind of channel people to you, funnel people to you?
Either way is fine. Either way is
Okay.
fine.
If you guys, our email, ricky@touchbbca.org. If you want to send me an email to talk to these lovely ladies, we'll make sure they get the message. So RICKI@touchbbca.org. I'll put it in the chat.
Sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger, to talk to
Mhm.
somebody who's been through it, to talk to somebody who gets it, to talk to somebody else's mom, it's just like when you're teenagers and you find that you're able to talk to somebody else's mom
Right.
and not necessarily your own, but all of the points that we've raised here, from having open conversations about our health, to being proactive, to fighting, to communicating, to preparation and end of life planning, there's so much richness here and so many things to think about. So we encourage you to watch, to share this with your networks. Sorry, that's my niece's dog there in the background. Somebody's coming in the house and she's sad. She's missing her mama. But Ricky, I'll let you close it out.
You guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I can't even begin to. And when I brought this topic up, I think I talked to you first, Diane, and I said, do you feel okay to do this? Because I knew it would be really, really hard. And, I have another friend, Barbara, who said, Ricky, I'm not ready, so your bravery, you guys, is just amazing. And the work that you're doing, Josie, however we can support you, we'll support you. And, we have TNBC Day, March 3rd, so
Right.
we'll do something with you then. But you guys, we have to tell your stories to more people. And so I'm going to get Emily, our writer, our storyteller, to reach out so we can write your stories and put them and post them on blackdoctor.org, because I think it's just something everybody should see, and see your bravery and your will and your passion and, your maternal gift. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
This is Mo's
Thank
Line.
you.
We try to be reliable, relatable, and real.
That's
every
it. We
week.
hope it's been.
And we hope
Yeah.
it's been. And
We set out to do it every Wednesday night,
every week. And so thank you. The doctor is in.
Oh.
Resty love.
Thank you.
Thank
Love to all
Thank
of
you
you.
so
God
much.
bless you.
Be blessed.
God bless you
Be
so
blessed.
much.
God bless you. Bless you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.